take down a red-hot Niners team with an elite D-line who crushed them in Week 12 and who are now touchdown favorites. Piece of cake. So when Rodgers went on Brett Favre's radio show yesterday, the Packers quarterback already knew the strategy to winning on Sunday. Take a listen.
What do you feel like you guys have to do better this go around than you did last time?
Well, we got to start fast. That's the key. You know, that play was important. I think it was a 16-yard gain, and we're outside the 40 now, and then we get a 15-yarder, and we're back inside the 30, and then I fumble, and next thing you know, it's 12 and a half on the clock, and it's 7-0. We're down. So we got to start fast. We got to find a way to get that crowd out of it, just a little quieter, because it's going to be rocking.
All right, Coach, Aaron Rodgers says the key is just to start fast in this game. What do you think the Packers have to do if they want to pull off the upset?
God, it's so weird to hear Brett Favre talking about West Coast trips. For the year he was with me, we were horrible on the West Coast. We lost every single game. And that's why I moved that year. So I feel the Packers' pain. And I said this yesterday about overcoming coaching. And it's not a knock on LaFleur, but if you remember the first time they played, one of the things that Aaron Rodgers talked about is that they weren't ready. They didn't take the trip seriously enough. And to me, at that point, it was that team learning how to be successful and that young staff learning how to deal with success, to where Rodgers, who has been there before, understood what it took to win in those games and was outlining the fact that they hadn't done the right things leading up to it. And it couldn't have gone worse. It was a fumble, on the second play, and then the 49ers score on the first play. So I agree with Kyle that it would be irresponsible for the 49ers to think it's going to be anywhere close to what it was last time. As long as the Packers can get out of their own way first, they have a real opportunity to take advantage of a lot of things that the 49ers do. But it's going to have to be eliminating those mistakes first to put them in the position to be successful after that.
I agree. It's going to take multiple things to beat this 49ers team, who's one of the most balanced teams in the NFL right now. I think Devontae Adams have to have a monster game. I think he's Aaron Rodgers' most valuable weapon. And the 49ers will start doubling him from time to time throughout the game, and that's when Jimmy Graham will have to step up and make some huge plays for this offense. Aaron Jones will have to be huge also to establish some kind of running game to keep this team off guard, because this front four can just get to you, and Aaron Rodgers trying to drop back every play. That's not the game Green Bay is going to need going forward. And also defensively, Shanahan is one of the best in the league as the first 16 scripted plays. The first drive of the game is always clutch for the 49ers. They look precise. They look efficient. They know what they're doing. So you gotta get off the field early. Third down, 3 and out on the first drive, that'll kill the 49ers. That'll have them second guessing, hey, did the Packers really come to play this game? And also, they have to get 2 turnovers. I think they also need to just have Jimmy G rattle. Hit him early, stop the run, and make Jimmy G have to win this game. That's going to be the key to success for the Packers.
Well, that's a great point. If they can put this game in the hands of Jimmy Garoppolo, that is their best chance to win. And your point about starting fast, it's one thing Packers did really well this year. They were top 4 in the NFL this year in first quarter point differential. A handful of games, they jumped out all over teams, and then they didn't really put them away. They just kind of held on. They didn't lose any of those games. There's a game where they're up 21-0 almost instantly, end up winning 21-14. Like a handful of games where they jump out on you early and then kind of go into a shell, not necessarily negatively, but don't step on the opposition's throat. I think, hell, the playoff game against Seattle wasn't that different from that. They're up 21-6 at the half, but don't really put them away with Seattle having the ball with a few minutes left. But I went back and rewatched this game yesterday, and what I realized was I had misremembered it a bit. Green Bay's defense played a lot better than I had remembered. Coach mentioned it. San Francisco's first touchdown comes on a possession that starts on the 2-yard line.
Their first play.
First play. I mean, there's nothing you can do. I mean, that's not on the defense. The Packers then held the Niners until the 2-minute mark of the first half to just 2 field goals. It's 13-0 with 7 coming on essentially a defensive score for San Francisco with 2 minutes left in the first half, and then the end of the first half could not have gone worse for Green Bay. Green Bay has the ball, goes 3 and out. The Niners hit a deep shot, now it's 20-0. Green Bay then gets the ball with 48 seconds left. goes 3 and out again and doesn't take any time off the clock, which I know kills you. It's like, at the very least, don't let them add to their lead in this spot.
Yeah, play for the last shot.
Just play for the last shot. And now it's 23-0 at half, and you're basically dead. And so the reason I bring it up is the Green Bay offense could not have played worse than they did against San Francisco, but their defense wasn't annihilated the way you would think when you see San Francisco hung 37 on them.
Yeah, I don't think it was a function of that at all. And they did play better than they get credit for based off of what that score is. And offensively, their ability to run the ball to some degree and set up those hard sell play action
Who's they
shots.
you're talking about?
Green Bay.
Okay.
So Green Bay is one of the things that they've done well this year and is a big part of the LaFleur system is being able to have those hard sell play action, 2-man shots, really deep vertical routes. And that's been effective when they have some semblance of a running game. But they've got to be able to do that. They've got to be able to establish that early. On the flip side, they've got to be able to stop the running game and allow those pass rushers to do what they do so effectively. And that's where they've gotten in trouble. They're like Kansas City. Teams are able to run the ball on them, and that takes them out of what they do best, which is be able to attack the quarterback and be opportunistic. This has been an opportunistic defense and has generated a decent amount of turnovers.
So, Brenda, that's interesting because it seems like, well, they got demolished. They were overwhelmed completely by the 49ers. It's a 29-point loss. But maybe these guys are saying if you look a little deeper into the weeds, it wasn't as bad of a loss. I was going to ask, how much different is this Packer team today than it was back in Week 12? Are they closer than we thought they were? I mean, it seemed like such a mismatch coming in because of the last time they played.
They're a totally different team. I don't think the Packers offense, as you mentioned, Nick, will play this bad. But just for the psyche of the team, I understand the game was much closer than the score was, but the team also still feels like they got blown out. You know, I know the coach will come in and say, hey, it wasn't that bad. But as a player, you know, hey, we got blown out, what the score was when we got off this plane. So they can't afford for the 49ers to get up early 14-0 because that psyche has started to creep back in for the players. I understand Richard Sherman and some of these guys are experienced, but you can't help it. It's human nature. So it's very important for Green Bay to get out to a fast start.
But it's also the lead up. It's flying across the country. It's during that time period they had success, significant success. This was a big game. It was, I think, the biggest game of the week at the time. And as a young coach, you don't necessarily know how to navigate through those waters. So for them to be able to go back to this spot.
So how do you navigate now? What do you tell the team now you're going back across
What's
the
great
country?
is they did play them, and hopefully they did an after-action report where they looked at the things we did well, things we did poorly leading up to the week in preparation, taking that trip, and ideally they're adjusting those things as they make this second trip out there. I think getting embarrassed out there the way that they did could actually be a great thing for them because I'm sure they were really thorough in their evaluation. Not that they shouldn't be all the time, but they were especially thorough in their evaluation, which should help them with this time.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you. From a coaching staff perspective, and I know you preach and have always preached, the only opponent that matters is the next one, and that you have to just focus on what's directly in front of you and not look ahead. With that said, they played in Week 12. At that point, you are aware of the standings. You also are aware that we are a Super Bowl caliber team, we being Green Bay. Are there members of the coaching staff, are there people that had, from that moment until today, somewhere on their weekly agenda, 20 minutes for San Francisco? How do we, if we have to play them again, how do we adjust?
If they did have that mindset, they're probably
that's not the right mindset.
It's probably surprising. It would be really surprising that they're where they are now, because there's so much work that has to go into the opponent at hand. Now, where there's real value is after you play someone, what lessons did you learn, and do you take those things and put them down when they're fresh? Because it's kind of like past you talking to future you so that you can avoid those mistakes the next time you're in that same situation.
So in your opinion, the preparation for the next meeting only would have taken place in the hours or day after the game. Then you put it in a drawer and you use it this week once you realize you might